All right, guys, welcome into the Ultimate Cavaliers Show. We're doing this a little different today. I am in studio, obviously, and I'm joined by Jason Lloyd, who is not in studio. Jason is sitting in his home well, I don't want to give away where Jason lives. Jason can do that if he wants, but I'm not going to do that. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm good. This is different.
It is. We had a big game tomorrow on the docket. The Cavs hosting the Rockets, and our schedules just did not seem to align today in the way they normally have in the past, so we figured, screw it, let's do it a little different. And so far, it's working, but it's only been a minute.
Rockets in town. Kevin Durant, obviously, best offense in the NBA by offensive rating. It should be a good one.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn a lot about this Cavaliers team, Jason, in a couple different facets. For anyone who hasn't watched the Rockets yet this year, they have the best offensive rating in basketball. They're top 10 in defensive rating. They're tied for second in the NBA for the second best net rating. They're the best rebounding team, both from the counting box stats and from the advanced metrics in basketball. They have Şengün and Clint Capella and Steven Adams as a bruising center trio alongside of guys like Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, Amen Thompson. They are built to out-athlete other teams. And so far this season, the front line of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, Jason, frankly, hasn't lived up to the expectations some of us thought. And their soft label has not been erased yet. You can't not be a tough physical team and have success against this Houston front line, because if anyone tries to say that Houston front line is soft, they may come find you personally and beat the living crap out of you. So what are you expecting tomorrow, Jason, in terms of that specific matchup, the Cavs front line against Adams, Şengün, Capella, and the Rockets front line?
Yeah, it's going to be physical. There's going to be elbows thrown. And I just think in general, the Cavs just have to guard one-on-one. This is a team that they're not going to – I think they're second lowest in the league in assist percentage. Like, they're going to make you guard one-on-one and play a lot of ISO. And, I mean, that's obviously a Durant forte, but it goes just beyond him. And it's not going to be a lot of ball movement. It's going to be a lot of one-on-one, can you guard me or not? And frankly, I don't love the Cavs' odds in a situation like that, and I hope I'm wrong.
When you look at how they guarded Milwaukee last night, Kenny Atkinson kind of talked about the pros and cons of their new, more aggressive style, and it's led to some increased turnovers, steals, deflections. It also puts some of their guys in some disadvantageous positions and leaves their backline a lot more susceptible to drives, and guys like Amen Thompson and Kevin Durant and Reed Sheppard, who's playing better in particular, can beat guys off the dribble. Sheppard less than the other two, can beat guys off the dribble and kind of force the Cavs into help rotations, putting them into situations where it's either Allen or Mobley stepping up. And the fear, Jason, to me is if Kenny decides to go with these one big lineups, which have not worked and not had a ton of success this season. Last year, I thought that was their best lineup. The numbers so far through 15 games, small sample size, have not bared out that is their best way to win. They're going to get killed on the glass, Jason, if they can't keep guys in front of them on the perimeter in these one-guard lineups. Because if you have Mobley or Allen stepping up to try and contest shots in the paint, the Rockets are sending 5 guys to the glass. They're already the number 1 rated offensive rebounding team in the league. And the Cavs are one of the worst defensive rebounding teams in the league in those one big lineups. To me, that is the one thing that scares me the most, is can Cleveland keep their guys in front of them on the perimeter, particularly when they take out either Mobley or Allen and insert a third or a fourth wing in there, because that is going to be crucial to the outcome of this game.
Rebounding has been an issue with this. It's hard to explain, but rebounding's been an issue off and on with this team, going all the way back to the Knicks series, however many years ago that was. It just, for whatever reason, they aren't as good as you would think that they would be with Jared and Evan. And then what you're talking about when one of them's off the floor. And also, I don't have the numbers to back this up. I was just thinking about this while you were talking. It feels to me like teams are doing a good job of getting Evan away from the basket defensively. Am I crazy on that? Are you sensing that? I just have seen a lot of possessions where he's not where he used to be.
I would have to dive into the numbers.
Maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels, from the eyeball test of watching him, it just feels like teams have done a nice job of getting him out of the paint and getting him away from the basket.
Well, they've definitely tried to use him in more pick-and-roll situations. I think the Cavs picking up higher than they ever have under this Kenny Atkinson team and extending their pressure has brought everybody away from the bucket, Jason. But I did see this yesterday, and I apologize for being on my phone. I'm trying to find the graphic.
Well, I've kind of sprung that on you.
No, I'm trying to find the graphic that my buddy Mac tweeted out. Shout out to Mac Perry. He does a great job. But he took a screenshot of, here it is. B-Ball Index is run by Tim, I pronounce his name wrong every time, Tim Kirkerjan. Not Tim Kirkson, the baseball guy. Different Tim.
Yeah.
He's at Tim_NBA. Great follow on Twitter. He created the Basketball Index. And so far this season, and it's worth noting because Wemby's going to be out for a few weeks with the left calf sprain, Jason.
Yeah.
So far this season, this was from before last night's game, so through 14 games, according to Basketball Index, Evan Mobley graded out at an A-plus rim protection in the 97th percentile, an A-plus rim disruption, so guys drive in and he forces them away in the 97th percentile, an A, 91st percentile in help defense, an A, 94th percentile in post defense, an A-plus, 99th percentile in screener mobile defense, so when he's on the move with people trailing, setting screens, and then an A-minus, 81st percentile in screener rim defense, so when he's the screener and they're attacking him coming downhill. All his defensive metrics have graded out that he's playing just as effective, if not even more than his DPOY season last year. But it doesn't feel like he's been as impactful. And the Cavs as a team don't seem to have the same overall consistency on that end of the court that we saw last year, even if I kind of like some of the principles they've added into the fold, being more aggressive, picking up higher. It's a learning process for everybody when you change your defensive philosophy like that. So 15 games in is way too small of a sample size to make any definitive decisions. But I do think there is something to the fact that teams know when Evan Mobley's in the paint, it's hard as hell to make a shot over him. It's even harder to get a good look. And they're trying to drag him away as much as they can.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's fallen at all in terms of his defensive ability. Just positioning, it just feels to me like I haven't seen him around the basket as much as in the past. And again, maybe I'm off on that.
No. Well, one thing I do want to mention, I think it was the Memphis game where he was incredible in the fourth quarter, Jason. There was a few drives in the second quarters in the first half, where Memphis, and maybe it was the game before Memphis, but I'm pretty sure it was Memphis. Memphis was driving, and you saw Evan take some bad angles to try and contest the shot. And that's one thing he's always been good at. Like making sure he's the shortest possible path from point A to point B to disrupt. He may not end up in a block, but to at least disrupting, making the offensive player change a shot. And I thought he took a couple bad angles, and I'm curious if this ties back to your first point, if maybe some of the geometry from a defensive standpoint that Evan is working through in his head on each possession is just a half step or a full step off because he's in different positions now that the entire line of the defense is being brought up a step.
And also it's worth pointing out, the defense will probably regress a little bit when Darius is healthy. It's just the nature of it. So if they're starting from a deficit now, it's not going to improve when Darius is full go. For as terrific as he is offensively, he is still a liability defensively. So you would think that they would be a little bit better on the defensive end without him.
Yeah, I know tomorrow against Houston, Shepard's obviously a shooter. Not great at getting past people off the dribble, but he's been better of late. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant, arguably the easiest walking bucket in the history of the league. You got Amen Thompson, who's not much of a shooter, but an absolute menace going downhill. Şengün, who's shooting the three better than he ever averaged in his career, Jason. I did not anticipate Şengün taking and making as many threes as he has this season and looking as comfortable as he does in those shots. And then Jabari Smith Jr. at the 4 is a dead-eye corner three-point shooter. Not the greatest player off the dribble, but the Cavs, I think, have a chance tomorrow to, and I'm maybe projecting some hope into this. It's a defensive matchup that kind of favors what they want to do because they want to try and pressure guys on the perimeter, right? Like they're trying to push up. I do think you can disrupt Reed Sheppard with some on-ball pressure. Now, the Cavs may not have the bodies to tomorrow because Jalen Tyson's out and Craig Porter may play a bigger role, and Porter's really good on this. You can lay off Thompson. If he wants to beat you with threes, so be it. And Şengün, I still think the best way to guard Houston is let Şengün take some of those threes. I know he's been making them this year, but I'd much rather have him be 27 feet out than 7 feet out. I think the Cavs are going to try and pack the paint and say, hey, Houston, if you're going to beat us, you have to bomb us from three-point land. It's not something they're comfortable doing, and we'll see if they can. But that is something I'm definitely going to keep an eye on tomorrow, Jason.
And it'll be a slower pace.
Much slower.
Houston doesn't.
Third slowest pace in the league, I believe.
Yeah, and part of that just goes back to ISO ball. It just slows the game down. It slows possessions down. So I would not expect this to be two teams running up and down the court.
Last thing before we get to our next topic here, Jason, but we started with the toughness of Capella, Adams, and Şengün up front, and what we still need to learn from Jared Allen and Evan Mobley in that regard. Do you think, and I understand this is game 16 of an 82-game season. I am well aware this is early, a lot can change, but Kenny even mentioned in his post-game press conference yesterday, we're kind of making it through, but we have not played up to our level. We know we can't win playing like this against Houston. They're too good. You think this team is going to put a little extra emphasis on this game in particular, knowing, A, it's a statement kind of game where if you come out and push Houston around a little bit, it may begin, and keyword there, begin, to change the narrative? Or is it still way too early to get into any of that kind of nonsense?
Honestly, I think it's way too early. I mean, yeah, it's you know, when top teams come in the league, you take notice of them. But I don't think this is not a team. This is not an East team. This is a team that they're only going to see twice. It's, you know, OKC felt like it had some juice to it last year when they came into the building, and you could say the same about this. You know, this, you could easily make a case that this could be a finals matchup, but it just doesn't. To me, it doesn't feel like it has the same juice to it that OKC does. So it'll be a good game. It'll be a fun game. The crowd will be into it. But I don't think the Cavs are at the point on November, 18th, 19th, mid-November, late November, where they're going to start circling games. We went through that last year. We've talked about it on the show at length about the start that they got off to last year and how it sort of dictated and changed, I think, some goals and some things that they were looking to do. It's completely different this year. And right now they're still just sort of trying to find their way. I like the way they played last night, particularly in the second half. And we talked about on the show, they were just stuck in the mud a little bit and not really being able to put 4 good quarters together. If they can do that tomorrow, they'd be huge. And it sounds foolish in the NBA, but you're just not looking at wins and losses right now.
It is true. The game is on ESPN, 7 o'clock tip-off, and we will preview it some more tomorrow on UCSS. Obviously, react to it on Thursday. Jason, before we get to our next topic, a quick reminder that FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. There's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel. Even if you miss the start of the game, you can get live bets, bet on fourth quarter comebacks, same game parlays, you name it, FanDuel's got it. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com/UCSS to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Jason, after the game yesterday, we talked about Donovan and Sam Merrill, who were their two best players. They unquestionably their two best players yesterday. Don with 37. Sam had 20. Those two alone were basically the offense in the second half. And they kind of opened up in a way. And I need to give you the progression of how we got to the final answer from Donovan. So I asked Kenny in the post-game press conference, like, hey, you've coached a bunch of great shooters in your career. You've been on staffs with some of the best. Obviously, Sam is not Steph Curry. Take him out of the conversation. But, like, how does Sam kind of stack up to the other guys you've coached and what makes him better, more unique as a shooter? And he mentioned guys like Kyle Korver and Joe Harris as the two most common skill-wise players he's coached to Sam Merrill. And he says Sam's starting to develop that downhill game that Joe Harris developed in Brooklyn when he got that giant contract with the Nets that didn't pan out but was very much worth the money when he signed. Sam came in next, and we asked Sam, hey, Donovan's always seems to be looking for you. How did that kind of chemistry kind of come to be, considering this is the first year you're really playing significant minutes with Donovan? And Sam told us on every single flight since the day he got to Cleveland, Jason, he sits right next to Donovan. They go over film. They watch film together. Sam said sometimes I don't like to watch the games right after we finish. Donovan's immediately watching, so I'm watching Landman or whatever show I'm watching, and Donovan's asking me, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So then Donovan came to the podium. And I said, hey, Don, Sam told us that you guys sit on the plane next to each other. Why Sam? You could pick anybody on this team, right? You're Donovan Mitchell. No one's saying, no. Anyone on the team.
That's a good question.
He said, I've known Sam since before I got to Cleveland. He's a Utah, he played at Utah State. I knew Sam before. And two, he goes, Sam's honest to a fault. And when I'm looking at certain things, I could ask Sam, is that a bad shot? What should I have seen here? Why didn't I see this? And Sam gives me honest feedback. And Jason, this is now year 3 of these two being on plane rides together, obviously practicing together. This is the first year that they are truly playing together as kind of a tandem, and the results have been awesome. I don't have the numbers in front of me. We were supposed to do this later tonight, whatever. I would have looked it up. I bet you no one's assisted on more Sam Merrill threes this year than Donovan Mitchell. I bet you it's not even close. And they have some sort of innate connection, especially in those pick and roll, little pick and rolls, where Donovan is coming off, and with other guys he's looking to score. And I think his first instinct is, where's the help? Did it come to me? I'm immediately going to Sam. And it's one of those small things early in the season that, may not work when there's a bigger scouting report. They have more than 15 games of a sample size. How those two want to play their tendencies, teams may be able to take it away a little bit. But right now, Jason, I think the Cavs, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm being serious. The Cavs' best offensive play right now may be a Sam Merrill ball screen for Donovan Mitchell and letting Donovan get downhill. If they don't come and help, then it's a one-on-one situation. If they do, he's looking to kick it right back to Sam, who's respotting, finding the open space, and shooting the ball incredibly well right now.
That's a great story. I didn't know that. A lot of that speaks to the time spent off the court and how it can build trust on the court. I remember going through very similar stories to that when I was a beat writer and talking to guys about when Kyle Korver came here and LeBron sort of feeding him and fast tracking him and getting him comfortable in the offense. I'm not going to go so far as to say Don and Sam is the best.
I said it's crazy.
Offensive combination the Cavs have right now. But it's certainly a reliable one. Listen, the Cavs put a big bet on Sam this year by giving him a contract, by letting Ty walk and choosing Sam. A year ago at this time, 6 months ago at this time, I don't know what 6 months ago was, 8 months ago, I don't know that would have been how they saw this shaking out with Sam still being here. And certainly I think they feel really good about the choices that they've made so far on how that's going and how Sam is playing. It's funny when you say Joe Harris and Korver, because both of those guys are former Cavs.
Yep. And
Joe was more of a spot-up shooter, if memory serves. Kyle was really good coming off pin downs. I feel like Sam's sort of a combination of both. He can stand in the corner and wait for it, but I also feel like on the move, he's really, really good. So he's kind of like, those are two phenomenal three-point shooters. You can say the Harris contract didn't work. That was more injury-related than skill-related. Joe is a terrific shooter. He just had a lot of injuries in his life. But when I think of Sam, I sort of see a combination of the two of those guys.
The one thing with Joe Harris that Kenny even touched on last night was when he first got to Brooklyn, he was just a shooter. And by the end of his Brooklyn career, and Joe's a big dude, by the way. Joe's way bigger than people kind of give him credit for. He became a really dangerous player coming off those pin downs and turning the corner and getting downhill. And Sam is starting to, and it's a small start, but starting to be able to take guys off the dribble when they're trailing him coming off those double screens, these pin downs, and get to his spot. And there was a play last night where he had 6 threes and a layup. And that layup came when when Milwaukee, tried to chase him around a screen on the right wing. He went right through it, ended up finishing with his left hand. And someone asked, I forget who asked, about that, and Sam said, last year when I would dribble, when they would run me off the line, I was just thinking pass. I was so terrified to take a mid-range jump shot to get to the bucket. I was driving to pass, and teams wouldn't even guard me because they knew I was not looking to score. And now that I have a little more confidence in my ability to finish around the rim, and he gave Donovan credit for telling him, like, hey, you can't just be you cannot just be a passer in these situations. You have to be able to put pressure on the rim to make the defense respect you, or they're just going to sit back in the passing lanes. You're going to have nowhere to go. You're going to get trapped. You're going to lose the ball. I'm starting to get more confidence in my ability to do that. The better he gets at that, Jason, the harder it is to run him off the line, and the more open looks he gets. So it's one of those things that play right into each other. But, Sam Merrill's been every bit of the $9 million a year contract he signed this summer with Cleveland.
Yeah, credit to the Cavs for finding him. And he's bounced around the league a few times. I remember talking to Mike Brown a few years ago, had him in Sacramento, and Mike said he loved him, and they missed. He said we should have kept him. I forget now. It was down to Sam in one other spot for the bottom of the roster, and they chose the other guy. And when the Kings came through Cleveland, Mike was like, yeah, we missed that. We messed that up. We should have stuck with Sam. So he's one of those guys that I think a lot of teams have liked around the league. They just didn't necessarily have the space or the patience for him. He is a little bit limited in what he can do. So not a lot of teams want to invest the type of money that the Cavs just did in him, but the Cavs were in a position where they had to bring one of them back because they couldn't afford to lose both, but they couldn't afford to keep both either in Ty and Sam. And when things broke down with Ty in negotiations, they pivoted to Sam, and it's worked out for him. It's been a home run.
All right, one last thing we got to get to, Jason, before we do that, a quick word from the Home Builders Association. Gift big this year with a Home for the Holidays raffle. You have a chance to win this beautiful new custom home or a cash prize and help make wishes come true for Make-A-Wish kids with critical illnesses. Raffle proceeds benefit Make-A-Wish OKI, which has granted over 22,000 wishes to children facing critical illnesses across Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana since 1983. This year's house is a custom-built ranch by Petros Homes with 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and a 3-car garage. One lucky winner will be announced on December 24th, so get your $100 ticket now. Just visit ahomefortheholidays.org to buy your tickets. That's ahomefortheholidays.org. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Jason, last thing we got to get to real quick. We'll be out of here in 5 minutes. Kenny Atkinson made his first, I don't want to call it a major rotational change, but his first significant one of the year. They benched Larry Nance Jr. in favor of Thomas Bryant and Naquan Tomlin. Tomlin's now played significant minutes for a reserve player in 3 consecutive games. Nance had been struggling. His efficiency, across the board, 3-point, mid-range, at the rim, had kind of catapulted and fell right down a hill this year. So not shocking he came out, but are you surprised this early into the season Kenny has pulled the plug, at least for now, on Larry Nance in favor of Thomas Bryant Jr. and Naquan Tomlin?
No, only because Tomlin's playing really, really, really well. And Larry just looks to me like somebody who needs a little bit of a mental break right now. And so just set him down, let him clear his head. He's a veteran, clearly more toward the end than the beginning of his career. He's had a great career, but probably in the final chapter of it now, and just sort of needs maybe a little bit of a reset. So now's the time to do it. Again, we're talking, it's November. Now's the time to sit him, let him clear his head a little bit. Let Tomlin show you what he can do. I've been really impressed with him. We joked, it almost felt like a Ty Jerome moment. I was laughing last year when Ty got off to that great start. And, of course, we were joking on the show, and I said he might be a guy that you're going to have to cut to get under the tax. And then he turned out being one of the most valuable players on the team. And then the other day we were talking about Tomlin. I'm like, oh, he's a bench guy when everybody's healthy. He's not in this rotation. But he just makes winning plays and impactful plays whenever he's on the court. I've been really impressed with him. So I don't blame Kenny for wanting to take a longer look at him and see, did they do it again? Did they find someone else on the margins who can help them? Or is this something that's going to burn bright and burn out, and then you give Larry another opportunity? It's a long season. Injuries are going to come up. Guys are going to get tired. Guys are going to slump. So I have no issue with it right now. I think it's the right call to just let Larry clear his head and see what Tomlin can do. Yeah,
I could not agree more. Listen, Larry Nance Jr. is going to have a role on this team at some point this season, just not right now. He can't buy a bucket, and he's too good of a shooter to go through a season-long slump. He's just got to get his mentals right. As far as Tomlin and Bryant go, Jason, Thomas Bryant, plays with this psycho energy, and I say that in a good way, that I do think the Cavs need a little bit of. In the game against Milwaukee on Monday, he basically boxed out Gary Trent Jr. into the 8th row of the stands and got a technical foul for it, and it got the benches to kind of clear for a sec. And I'm like, why would you do that? And I was like, why not? Like, the team needed a little jolt of energy. I don't know if he does it intentionally, if he's just wired a little different, but they kind of need that crazy guy, especially with Max Strus not in the lineup, because he provides the crazy when he's healthy. When he's out, they have way too many sane guys. And I know that sounds crazy to say you need a crazy guy, but sometimes a basketball team needs a little bit of crazy. Tomlin brings crazy in a different way. He plays with this frenetic energy, Jason, that cannot be overlooked. And TJ McConnell, we all know TJ, right? Destroyed the Cavs in the playoffs. He's an absolute pain in the ass. He said playing hard is a skill. And he thinks he's the best in the world at playing hard, and I have a hard time disagreeing with that sentiment. And right now when you look at the Cavs roster, nobody's playing harder at the moment than Naquan Tomlin. And when you play hard, it's not a surprise when you find yourself in the right spot at the right time. It's not hard to believe that a loose ball finds the guy who's playing 10 times harder than everyone else on the court. It's not hard to believe that a deflection that 9 out of 10 times would have bounced out of bounds just happens to fall to the ground and you can pick it up. those kind of hustle plays could be the difference in a win and a loss in November or December. And then when you start stacking them up, you kind of build that equity and that trust with the more established players on the team. So they're going to trust you in bigger situations later in the season. And I want to see more from Naquan. I have no idea what his end game will be from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, he's given Jalen Tyson a run for his money on the Hacky Chan nickname. He's got to clean that up. But overall, the dude's a 6'8 athlete, runs the floor like a gazelle, plays like his hair's on fire, and has more offensive game than I think we've seen thus far. I'm intrigued and I want to see more, and I think he's going to play tomorrow against Houston, which will be by far the biggest test of this young NBA player's career.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see. You're dangling the bait in front of me with the crazy. I got a great story to tell on that, but I can't tell it yet. We'll have to wait a little bit longer for the statute of limitations to expire. But I agree that this team needs an injection of toughness and crazy. And if Thomas Bryant is it, so be it. Bring him on down.
I'm very curious on the crazy story, so I'm going to text you as soon as we wrap here. But that's going to wrap for the Ultimate Cavs Show. We are back tomorrow on UCSS. We'll preview this Rockets game with the guys on the panel, Jay, G. Bush, and Bull. We'll obviously have some reaction on Thursday. But for now, this has been an in-studio remote version of the Ultimate Cavaliers Show. For Jason Lloyd, I'm Mikey McNuggets. Peace.